demonstrations and for public taxi rides as well, so you can have a ride on board the aircraft. This winter is very different to what we've done any previous winter. Usually we just do winter maintenance on the aircraft, overhaul the engines for the winter maintenance and make it ready for the taxi runs the following year. This winter is the first step towards making the aircraft airworthy. And that first step is to completely paint strip the aircraft, take as many components off it as you can, do a survey of the aircraft and the airframe to then create the work packs moving forwards to restoring the aircraft to an airworthy condition. So as you see NX611 today, she is in a position where she's almost ready for the repaint. Repaint of the aircraft starts next Monday, so we have a couple of days left to get her completely ready for the repaint. So she had all of the paint stripped off. What we found is she had about 4 layers of camouflage and black paint on her, and the roundels, which are the circles on the side of the aircraft, had about 10 layers of paint on. The company that did the paint strip and are doing, we had a quote to completely paint strip and repaint the aircraft, and it came in at £125,000. It looks like the work that Mass Aviation are doing for us is going to come in at about £20,000. So it's a huge saving for the centre, and to which we're of course very grateful to Mass Aviation. Tailplane there, you'll see there's a light fabric material, secondite, over the leading edge. Behind that is a wooden leading edge, so it's a kind of mahogany, I think it is, which forms the shape of effectively the D shape of the fin. With that being wood over the time, of course, with the humidity when it was operating out towards Australia and May and all those kinds of areas, and also with just the length of time the aircraft been together, that wood has begun to rot. Some of the screws that hold the wood and the metal together are coming loose because the wood's really deteriorating. So the wood is in the leading edges of the fins and also the tips of the wing tips as well. There's a wing tip just behind you, just on the trestle there, and you'll see that the tip of that's had the same treatment. The fins are probably the thing we're going to do next year, so they'll come apart on jigs, be completely stripped apart, everything inside examined and renewed where needed. There's a modification put in place to replace that mahogany with a metal leading edge, so that's something that we'll be looking at doing next year, sealing it all up, bolting it back on.
Andrew was talking about a modification to the leading edge and make it out of metal instead of mahogany wood. For some reason that didn't happen. They carried on making it out of wood, but instead of using the mahogany they used ash. It was 7 pieces of laminated ash to form the letter D for the leading edge of the fin. Also in the sweep of the wingtip, that too was made out of ash.
We have to taxi the aircraft during the summer period. So winter period we do the work, summer period we taxi to raise the income to then spend on the aircraft during the winter. The whole project's looking like it's going to cost about £3.5 to £4 million, and that could take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending on how long it takes to do these individual parts. All of the functional condition it can be in. So various things we've done to the aircraft this winter, as well as the survey, is to replace parts of the aircraft that we've needed to. What I'm going to show you now is anchor nut strip. Anchor nut strip was originally steel, and it was placed in areas where you screw panels together. So if you look underneath the port wing beside the undercarriage, there's a gap there that's about 8 inches wide. That's where the outer wing attaches to the main plane, central main plane of the aircraft. So you'll see the spar bolts in there. That is covered up by what they call a fillet panel. Those fillet panels just bolt up over that gap all the way around to seal it up. Those fillet panels are bolted through anchor nut strip. Now, anchor nut strip, as I say, is steel, so it corrodes over time, so we've had to replace all the anchor nut strip on the aircraft. We ordered new anchor nut strip in 2016. It took about 22 weeks lead time. We ordered 111 lengths of 6 foot length, and it was about £12,500 for the new strip. So I'm going to pass this round so you can see it as you see the old stuff compared to the new stuff. It all has been made in America and shipped over. Why they don't make it in this country, I don't know. But yeah, things. One of the things we've found that we have to do to this aircraft is replace the rivets on the main plane. So each wing, from fuselage through to where the wingtip attaches, between the wing spars, So basically where the undercarriage opening is there, that's the space between the spars. So that's wingtip to wingtip. That's the wingspan is 102 feet, so it's about 82 feet all the way across the main plane. So those rivets are every inch, all those rivets need to be replaced, and the spacings between the rivet lines is about 6 inches. So anybody who's good at maths can work out how many rivets there are. There's a few. But in order to replace those rivets on the tops of the wings, we've got to de-skin the bottom of the wing. It's a solid rivet using top to which you've got to reaction both sides of it, and then you pop rivet the skin underneath. So at some point we're going to be removing the wings off the aircraft. They'll go onto jigs to make sure they don't move when we take the skins off. The bottom skin's removed, top skins, rivets will be drilled out and replaced, and the bottom skins put back on. That also means that we get a good chance to have a look all inside the wings, any internal corrosion there may be, any tears, any cracks, anything like that, before we seal them back up. So the aircraft, when it's finished, every inch of it will have been inspected and looked at. That's pleased the CAA immensely. What they don't like is someone restoring an aircraft, getting it on the end of the runway for test run, and then saying to the CAA, hey, look what we've done, we're finished, come and have a look. They like to see it right from the get-go through to completion. So the CAA came to see us about a fortnight ago, maybe even 3 weeks ago now, had a look at the airframe as it is now, have a look at what we're doing, before they give us a rubber stamp for our approval to do the restoration on the aircraft. What we've done this year is really year 0 on the process. Next year will be year 1, when we have all of our approvals in place, have all the work packs in place to continue restoration of the aircraft. One of the big changes for this winter is we've started working to our A823 approval, which is basically the approval to be able to do the work on the aircraft. That has introduced an awful lot more paperwork, so everything you do needs to have a work pack arranged with it, telling you how to do it, and be signed off to say it's completed. That's meant that we've had 1.5 engineers working solidly on paperwork all the way through this winter. So they've not been able to go on the aircraft, they've been solidly on paperwork. Our team's been about 8 people through this winter. Of course, as I said, 1.5 of those is on paperwork, raising the work packs, looking for drawings, working everything out and ordering everything required to do the work. So about 6.5 people continuous on the aircraft every week from start of November through to now, and that's got us in a position now where the aircraft's ready for the repaint. All the components you see on trestles and tables behind the aircraft here are all going to be painted off the aircraft and then put on the aircraft once it's all painted and dry. That means that every face can be inspected and repainted, so when it goes back together again you won't be able to see any bare aluminium, it will all be encased in the protective paint. Replaced because of the corrosion on the aircraft. There's one on the wingtip you see behind you, there's a yellow skin being placed there, and again that's due to dissimilar corrosion. The tip of the wingtip there is actually steel. It's got a steel cap around it to protect it against anti-aircraft wires, basically balloon wires and things, cables. So that wingtip leading edge has corroded the panel it's attached to. So there's various things on the aircraft where we've suffered from that, and basically just because of the age of the aircraft leads to the skin corrosion that we found on it. The way we deal with the skin corrosion, as I said, is to use those roll-lock discs to remove the corrosion. We then have to test the thickness of the material that's left behind to see if it's thick enough to be able to go again, or if that skin has to be replaced. But the survey we've done will tell us all that. All the survey we've brought together and produced in a survey pack at the end of this winter, so that when we do the work the following years we can refer back to the pack, find out the condition of the item we're going to do, and then raise all the work and parts that we need in order to complete the project. Engine wise, we've got 5 airworthy engines. One's connected to the aircraft in number 4. We've got 4 in stores in a humidity, temperature controlled environment. The other 3 on the aircraft are for taxiing, and we've got 1 spare taxiing engine. So engine wise the aircraft is sorted, that's all done. Something that may cause an issue is a spar on the aircraft. So a Lancaster spar, different parts of it are hours to different lifing. So the bottom rear spar on the Lancaster is lifed at about 4,500 flying hours. Another part of the spar's at 12,000, another part of the spar's 6,500, another part's 8,000. This aircraft has flown 2,424 flying hours, so officially there's a lot of life left on the spar. But if we find corrosion in different places of different depths, it may be dictated by the CAA that we have to replace that spar. The beauty of the spar, I guess, is the fact that it's got 4 booms in many sections. So if you find corrosion on a boom, you just replace that part of the boom rather than having to replace the entire spar of the aircraft. If you find any corrosion we find on the spar, you have to work out what depth of material you've lost out of that spar to then do the stress calculations to find out if that spar is actually still okay, and you just limit the amount of G and you're all at weight, or if you decide you have to completely replace that piece of spar. That's something that the CAA would also dictate to us. It's something the CAA are very hot on with this aircraft, is what the spars are like. The spar is basically the backbone to the aircraft. The engines are bolted to it, obviously all the wings are bolted to it, the undercarriage is bolted to it. It's where the main strength is wingtip to wingtip. So that the CAA can't afford for anything to be wrong or weak with the spar. Obviously it's going to be flying a few hours in the year. But yeah, really other than the surface corrosion we found, the spars will dictate how long the project will take, if it's accomplishable, and therefore how much it's going to cost as well. So that £3.5 million budget is allowing a certain amount towards a respar, but if all 4 booms of the spar wingtip to wingtip have to be replaced, then that's going to push us over budget. We do have all the jigs that we need in order to replace the spar. So the central section between the transportation joints will come off, it goes on a jig, the outer wings come off, the spars are basically drawn out one end to the other, the new ones copy drilled, put in, bolted together and finished. It's a lot more detailed than that, but that's basically how it is. So yeah, those are the kinds of things that could make the project pause or take a bit longer and a bit more expensive than expected.